Welcome back to the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast 15. I'm with Kris Decoodt, the communications lead for Commons Stack and Giveth. Next to the overall communication strategy, he is the voice behind the social media presence for both. He helps out as a community manager, writes some of the organization's texts, and edits and publishes all of them. Kris has been working in the blockchain space for the past 4 years, working in similar positions for Aragon and Swarm City. Before this, he filled various communication positions in the tech and advertising industry for more than 10 years, working, amongst others, at Microsoft as a digital marketing lead for its Belgian offices. Giveth is a community focused on making the world a better place through the use of blockchain technology. Its flagship product, the Giveth donation application, the app, is an entirely free, or DApp, is an entirely free open source platform built on the Ethereum blockchain. The system cuts out the bureaucracy and enables contributors to create a high level of transparency and accountability towards donors. The Commons Stack is building commons-based microeconomies to sustain public goods through incentive alignment, continuous funding, and community governance. Their library of open source, interoperable Web3 components will put effectively new tools in the hands of communities who are united around a good cause, enabling them to raise and allocate shared funds, make transparent decisions, monitor their progress in supporting the commons. Kris, welcome to the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, well, you basically already said everything. You said what we are doing. I think this is a wrap.
Well, not before I ask my first question. What is Giveth? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's probably best if I explain this a little bit in my own words. So Giveth is as you described well, it's a donation platform. So the thing that we set out to build and that we have built now is a platform that you can imagine if you are just a person and you want to join a community that believes in a certain cause, for example, cleaning up the beach in your neighborhood. You can start a community on Giveth, get together with a number of people, and then you just create a campaign for this. So you can see it as a sort of Kickstarter kind of project, but it is completely decentralized, built on the blockchain. There's no intermediary. It's just you doing this. And the main things about Giveth actually are that, like, on the one hand, it's all about transparency. So when people donate funds to your campaign, they can trace from the beginning up till to the very end, until like the money is spent on a specific part of your campaign, what happens with their money. And if at some point they say like, well, yeah, I see that they're planning to spend the money in this way, and that doesn't make so much sense to me, they can take it back and they can spend it on something else. So the transparency is very important, and also, well, the accountability. So if you cannot show and then prove what you've been doing, then you are held accountable, and that's in a nutshell what Giveth is all about.
So why do you need the blockchain, and what makes this different to the old model that you're trying to replace?
Yeah, well, the thing is, for Giveth specifically, we didn't really need the blockchain in and by itself, but we wanted to have this built on the blockchain because the goal is really in the future that there is no intermediary anymore. This is just a smart contract that pays out the funds and that does everything directly, and you're in control. Wow. So that there is this full transparency. And so that is made easier with blockchain tech, and this is the basis for this will be implemented in what we are doing for the Commons Stack, but that's the next point. But yeah, so it creates this layer of transparency and ownership that we really need in this space, because yeah, there's been scandals in when you look at institutional charitable projects, but there's not only that, there's just also, we see in general that people are disengaged. They're like, yeah, why should I give this money? I have no idea what's actually going to happen with my funds. And now you're in charge. And that's something that is possible now.
Yeah, that's kind of true. You know, when you've got the guys on the street trying to get charitable donations to help projects in Africa or the home, you always kind of think, well, where is that money going? How much, what percentage of it is going to here? What percentage of it is going to there? You never know. And it kind of, you end up with, it kind of breeds a distrust for organizations that it should all be about trust. You know, trust us. We want to help save the planet. We want to help change the world. We want to help, give medicine in far reaches of the earth. And you just never know. Like, so is this the industry that you're looking to disrupt? And if so, why have you chosen this industry? Is it something personal?
No, it's not something personal for me. I'm also not the person who started this. I joined when the team had already been working on this for at least 6 months, if not longer. But why this industry? It is because it's in a way, it's the easiest, in the sense that there's nothing high at stake. Like, people right now have already been giving to good causes anyways. The only thing is, like, now when you give to a good cause, you can see what happens with your money. So we can bring back that trust that you were mentioning. So it's a really nice place to start, because we need that. We see that this disruption is necessary. The industry itself is asking for it as well. Like, they see that this trust is gone, that it's really a struggle to get people engaged, and there is this frustration. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
It's kind of funny because the word blockchain, one of the first words that springs to mind is trustless, but also untrustworthy, because there's so many scam projects out there that abuse your trust, that tell you fibs and promise the world and give you nothing in return. But this, as I say, what piqued my interest with this was that it's it's altruism. There's an absence of profit motive. I'm sure people have to get paid. It's only fair that people would get paid. But there's an absence of, with any kind of charitable endeavor, you always feel that you're working for the greater good. Let me ask you a question. Is there anything out there like this, or is this the first of its kind?
I don't think there is anything exactly like Giveth. There are similar projects that focus on different aspects of this. You have, for example, you should actually definitely check something like Blockchain for Humanity. It's actually a spin-off off of Giveth. But you have also, and they are working with another blockchain. We've based ourselves on the Ethereum blockchain. Then you have Alice, for example. Alice is a beautiful project, and they focus more on also bringing this transparency, but most of all, they want to focus on what is the real impact. So they've been focusing on the end of the thing, and we've been focusing on the chain itself, on bringing this overall transparency and accountability.
You know, it's quite interesting. I'm reading a book at the moment by Peter Thiel. Do you know Peter Thiel? Yeah, he's the PayPal founder. And the book, it was suggested to me by a friend of mine. It's called 0 to 1. And there's such a thing as vertical growth, and then there's horizontal growth. Horizontal growth is you pick an idea that somebody's already thought of, and you try and be better at it. Yeah. But that, of course, creates a queue, and you have to work your way up. It's almost like a league system. 0 to 1 is that you create the
category.
Category. You create the sport. You create the way, and others will follow. And that if you're the first, if you create the thing that everybody needs or wants, but nobody knows they need it or want it yet, then that puts you in a very powerful position. And the great thing is, people like Peter Thiel and these huge mega entrepreneurs they've grown up in the same world we have. They will have seen the same images on TV we have. They will have seen various political ups and downs and movements, and I'm sure not all of them are devil worshippers and in some Illuminati pyramid sacrificing children. There are people who are acting on the greater good for the world. So
for sure,
This is actually, it's quite an exciting project. Do you feel, you said you could talk for ages about this. Is that because you're so passionate about it?
Yeah, I'm definitely passionate about it. It is the thing that we really need to work on, and it's the first of all is the yeah, it's there are so many public goods that are underfunded. So everything that you cannot really immediately turn into a profit, but that helps the better the whole of our entire system, our survival as a species. It's not something that is very profitable right now at all, even, and it's undervalued. It is ignored, and we need to change that. And so I really believe that if we don't do this, that we're like, how do you call it, like the frog sitting in the water and is not really realizing that it's getting boiled. We are in this situation because we have so many, all of our systems are broken. And when I discovered Giveth, it was like, okay, they are really onto something. And the cool thing is actually that this was just the beginning. And if it's okay, like that's the thing that I wanted to explain as well. What we're currently working with the Giveth team most of all on is the Commons Stack. So this is a project that came out of Giveth, and Giveth will continue to exist. And we have actually multiple teams right now working on the next version of Giveth. We have people who have been using Giveth for over 3 years now. I've personally been paid myself through the Giveth platform over the past 3 years, and it works flawlessly. It's really impressive to see how good that works. But this is just the beginning to us. So this is a sort of foundational layer that we were creating, where we see, okay, we see that we can bring transparency. We see that we can organize ourselves, and you can delegate funds. You have a sort of roles that are built into the system, but this is just one piece of a bigger thing. And so I mentioned public goods, and that it is not right now, nobody is rewarded. The thing is, if you give to Giveth or to any cause, it is just a 100% loss. It's just funds you give. It's no longer a black hole, and you can see what happens, and that's already a great thing. But what is still frustrating to me and the rest of the people in our team is when you give, it's always the same people who are giving. And actually, you shouldn't be giving to begin with. And that's the thing that fascinates me most of all about all of this. We have governments who should be taking care of the poor, of pollution in our environment. We have lots of companies who are making profits and who often say that they're also doing this for their customers. Yeah. But something in between, like in between the economic system and the governmental systems that we have, something is missing. And that's like someone taking care of the bigger picture, the thing, the public goods, the thing, what we call the commons. So what is a commons? It's things like the rivers, the air, the things that we share, the seas, the things that we share and that nobody is really properly taking care of because they're not incentivized to do so. Yeah. And so that's why we said, okay, Giveth, great. First layer, building some transparency, great. But still those same people, those same naive people who just give and give, but it's always the same people and it doesn't make any sense. So that brought us to build the Commons Stack. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's quite interesting, though. Yeah, people do need to be incentivized. Even big businesses need to be incentivized. They won't do it because they can. I think they can pay less tax if they give a certain amount. If they give a certain amount to charitable organizations or in.
There are some mechanisms like that.
When you said that. There's almost like a disconnect between what all of these things that need to be done and big business and governments. I believe that connect is going to happen through technology. And actually, definitely, while you were talking about it, it can only happen through technology. You can't. We can't do it through telekinesis. You know, nope. We're going to do it through technology. And that's how there is going to be a kind of singularity. Almost like I feel like the best organization for you to go and work alongside would be something like the United Nations. You'd have to forget about going to the French, the Belgian government, the UK. There is that too. I feel like your idea is something that it's quite exciting, really. You never lose hope, because you look at organizations like Uber, right? That switch between the old model and the new happened like that. That's what technology does. I don't read an A to Z when I go driving anymore. I've got Google Maps. I trust my my app. You know, what I'm trying to say is that it's gonna, this road you're on is a good road. I do believe in it. I feel excited by it.
That's great to hear. Well, so are we, and it is disruption that is going to happen, and that has been happening right now, because it's indeed like you say, it's just going to happen. In the end, it's just going to be an app on your phone, and the people are not even going to realize, but it's going to be a whole different world. And like you mentioned, like you need to work with the United Nations or something. It's the kind of things that we're definitely looking into when it comes to funding our own projects to get them started. But in the end, I truly believe it's going to come from the people who are starting to use it, because it makes sense. It's something that people are like, yeah, of course, why wouldn't we? And technology is going to bring that, and it's indeed, it's not going to be like what you said, like telekinesis, and it's also not going to be like a bloody revolution. I hope not, but it's going to be an evolution, and technology brings this slow evolution. Suddenly it's there, and you just start using it because it makes sense. Well, just like Uber or other things.
And with every evolution, there's winners and losers. But
definitely,
I was just thinking there. What was I just thinking? It was a very important thought. Yeah, that. Almost, it's going to come to a point. You can almost see it happening now, with governments struggling to keep the old order going, even if that means, and that's both good and bad. Both in the good sense that you can't stop this kind of technological revolution; it's just happening. And in another way, there's certain maybe laws and protections that you would have in the old system, the old rule of law, that is now being kind of subjugated and change. You know, there seems to be, the new fight is for control of the internet, the control of what connects us, is connecting everybody on the planet. And some of these organizations now have so much power, and
it's very centralized. It's just a number of organizations that have a lot of power right now.
But
and that's
with an idea like this, it's something that could rise to the surface.
Yep.
And just like that, it's a completely new ecosystem, a completely new way and it will upset the old model. It's the kind of, I don't know if it's going to be your organization. I hope it is, but it could be the next. There's somebody somewhere, they're going to think of the next bright idea, and it changes everything.
Oh yeah, but there's so many bright minds and fantastic initiatives that are popping up in the blockchain space right now, and that's also why I was drawn to come into the space. As you said, like before, I worked in the tech industry, and I've always been fascinated by technology. But the cool thing is that now it's a completely new thing, and it's unstoppable with blockchain. So many people are just thinking of crypto as, it's like I can trade, I could trade, and maybe I can get some money off of this. I'm going to sell my house. I'm going to do this. But crypto is so much more. To me, it's all about the technology. It's about the fact that it's unstoppable, and it goes beyond the borders. Indeed, it's not just one government that's going to say, like, this is how it's supposed to be. We're going to break some rules. Some things are just going to pass, but nobody can stop it because it's not centralized into one organization or one server anymore. It's just going to happen.
It's a bit like during adolescence, when you're like a teenager, you get you get growing pains,
growth
and
spurts.
Growth spurts. God, your English is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Is it your is it your second or third language?
It is, well, somewhere between my second and third language. I studied English, so that helps.
Okay. No, I just always find it amazing. in England, God, we're like the terrible at languages. I'd love
Yeah,
to be like,
Belgium is a good country for that. Like I live in Brussels, so like it's a mixture of like I speak French more. That's why I say second,
yeah,
third language. I speak French most of the time in my city, but my native language is Dutch, and like I speak English for my job all the time. So
Dutch there. That's why.
That's the way.
The Dutch speakers. Do you know? Well, I'm banking on Neuralink. You know, Elon Musk
Yeah.
says eventually he's going to be able to cut the whole skull and just put a new one on.
That's got to be so much easier, right? It's just like, yep, and you know,
He
you
said
just
that
like
we won't even need to speak. We're just going to look at each other and go, I can
connect.
communicate my concepts to you.
It is fascinating and extremely scary at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about you. What's your dream in life? What do you sound like somebody who wants to change the world? Am I right?
I do. And I think, honestly, I think all of the people do. Somewhere deep down inside there, before they were like in their jobs and then like I have to make rent and like get my support my family, we all have dreams and we all want to change the world and make the world a better place. I honestly believe that we do. You're doing this as well by just bringing information to the people. I do the same in my job, bringing information to the people as well about technology that I hope will change the world for the better.
Yeah, well, that's good. The reason I asked that is because very often most of the people that I interview are just talking about their project. And,
God, yeah, it's awful.
But
No,
I mean, this is the first project that kind of, okay, I'm going to leave it to you now. Tell us where we can find out more about Giveth. Tell us what your plans are for this year. I'm going to leave it to you just to give us a little bit to finish off on.
Sure. So yeah, well, that's the thing. What is going to happen this year? There is a new version of Giveth that's being built right now, which we call Giveth 2.0. But at the same time, as I was saying, like there is this issue with the fact that right now people are not really incentivized and it's the same people giving. So that's why we're building the Commons Stack. So I'll be sharing some links that you can maybe add as well. And so the Commons Stack is actually the next step. What are we going to do? We're going to make it possible for people when they give to a good cause that they are actually rewarded. So what we're doing in a nutshell, this is really briefly explained. Yeah, it's gonna, no, not really. What we're gonna do is actually create economies around good causes. So there's gonna be built an entire economy. You will be receiving, when you have this commons that you built, a community around a specific good cause, a public good, you receive a token. And this token is, and that will lead us too far, but I'll share some links for the more technically apt people. But that will be running on a augmented bonding curve, and bonding curves are a sort of automated market makers. So this is really bleeding edge tech, and we're working with the best researchers on this, and this is so fascinating. And to me, that's the thing that I'm most excited about, that you can suddenly think about the fact, so I would be giving to a good cause, I can be rewarded for it. That sounds almost like a pyramid scheme, but it is not. It's just like value is created, and whenever value is created, people can and should get rewarded for it.
It's almost like technological karma.
Yes, that's how you could call it. And I believe in that. It's just like technological karma, or just like basic karma. If people do good, why shouldn't they be rewarded? I see value in someone cleaning up a beach or keeping the oceans clean. This is so important. And I find that so much more important than some of the things that I currently pay taxes for, that companies that I'm giving money to companies for. This is the future. This is what gets me excited. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you today. Where can we find the Giveth? Where can we find you?
Yeah, so on Giveth, you can find by just going to giveth.io, and the Commons Stack is Commons Stack, so with double S.org. And you can find me on, wherever you want. If you go on Twitter, my name is Crisis, which is a little bit difficult in the sense my name is with a K and it's double R. And that's, so Crisis. And yeah, I'll send you some information about it as well.
Definitely. If you send me any kind of good press releases or any articles, I'll post them on my little old website. I'm quite happy to do that because it's like, this is a fabulous idea. It's the first project, I'll be honest with you, I feel touches the soul, you know what I mean? And just wanting to help. And it's part of it. Like you said, every human deep inside not only wants to change the world, we all want everybody to be looked after, be happy. We want to reward the people, the people that go out there and do, all this work for nothing, for free. And I'm so glad I spoke to you today, Kris.
Yeah, same. Likewise.
Yes, let's stay in touch, and any new developments in the future, let's get you back on.
Fantastic. I'll be happy to join. Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.